Welcome to the candidate interviews being put on by the Chamber of Commerce. We're glad you're here.
Thank you.
A few quick questions. Tell us who you are, where you live, what you're running for, and how long you've been in Concord.
Sure.
And what you do when you're not running.
Yeah, so Matt Hicks, I've lived here forever. I run a school, and I live in East Concord on Mountain Road, also known as Highway. It's the secondary highway to 93.
Yeah.
And I'm on the planning board, the planning commission. I'm on the New Hampshire Civics Board, so I do a lot.
You're busy.
Busy
and
guy.
the little school that
I run a school.
somehow has to open every morning.
That's
and
right.
teachers have to show up.
Right.
Disclosure here, my children all went to the school and they turned out okay, so that's an endorsement. Let's jump right into the questions we gave everybody. Sure. Tax-based growth to offset increased costs, important issue. What you're thinking on how the city should approach that and do that?
Yeah, so I think that what kind of city do we want? Right? Do we want a city that was in a coma, as we've heard? Or do we want a city that's more vibrant? Do we want to attract more businesses? I say yes. And I say in order to do that, I think we need to revisit the economic development position in the city of Concord. I know it didn't work the first time, but that's not a reason to not go back to it. So I would look at that, somebody that has more expertise in attracting businesses to the city of Concord, knowing what they want, what their employees want, and locate here. I mean, we are the capital city. That's a draw. We are centrally located in the state, and we talk a lot about being an hour from everywhere good.
Yep.
Right? It's also great to live here and be an hour from those places. So I think, can we publicize that more? Can we really sell that? Because it's true for those of us who live here, that it's just a great central location. And we need to capitalize on more of our natural features. I mean, I have friends that live in East Burke, Vermont, and tiny little town, and they took this trail system and they turned it into something that draws people from everywhere, right? And if they can do that, we can do that. We have trail systems, we can capitalize. So a little bit more creativity on how we draw people in. And I think that would be helpful. Public-private partnerships certainly would help. You know something about how that works?
That's been key for us.
Right? Certainly, up at Exit 17, talked to the Rossios.
Yep.
Lori said that would not have happened without, the development would not have happened without public-private partnerships. So I think we need to really look at that. I mean, I know a lot of people don't want to invest public money to do some of these projects, but if we get that return on investment, it's going to benefit all of us in the long run. So those are some of the things that I think that we really need to take a hard look at.
Yeah, just a little side note, when we did one of the first ones for Horseshoe Pond, that was a 20-year bond, and it paid off in 3 or 4 years. And that surplus money is going to help keep the tax rate down. I mean, it's an investment and it's controversial, but good thoughts. That turns us right into a corollary issue, and that's affordable housing.
Yeah.
There are a lot of good developments that are happening, some new developers in town, which is nice to see.
Right.
Land density is one part of the equation. What else can we do to attack the problem?
So I forgot to mention I'm in the state, I'm a representative, right, for East Concord.
$100 a year and worth every penny.
10. Yeah. So I'm on the municipal and county government committee. We talk a lot about housing, and that question about density isn't the only solution is true, but density is part of the solution. And in talking in the committee level and meeting with experts on housing, what they tell me is housing is housing. Certainly we need to have more affordable housing, right? Workforce housing, more low-income housing. But New Hampshire, I think it was New Hampshire Business Review, said recently that the average price of a single-family home, or the median price rather, is $490,000, and a condo is $385,000. So if you think about Concord being somewhere in that range of mid to high 4, mid to high 3, middle-income folks are not able to afford homes in the city of Concord. So we need to look at how do we develop more affordable homes in the city of Concord to increase that supply. And let's talk to the builders. Like, what is it going to take? Because they're not going to build homes that they can't sell, right? So how can we work? Maybe we have to look at our zoning and our planning process. And what regulations can we loosen up? The form-based code is not in yet. Maybe that will help. Not a lot of people have come to those meetings, but that could help. So there are some things going on right now, but we're going to have to increase that supply somehow.
And you're right, it has to be at all ranges. One promising sign, there are people who like over 55 developments, some who don't, but anytime somebody moves out of that large Victorian into perhaps a smaller unit in that over 55 project that I see is proposed out on Loudon Road, then that frees that house up. Maybe that becomes a duplex or triplex. So I think you're right, it's a multi-pronged approach. Let's turn to another housing-related issue, and that's the homeless issue.
Sure.
All the country's inundated.
Sure.
The states, the cities are particularly, we seem to be having that problem in Concord, and it's a moving target. There are lots of good groups doing lots of good work trying, but it just doesn't seem, or I would say the general population in Concord doesn't think that we're getting ahead of the issue. What do you think we should be doing there?
Well, I think we are making progress, and I think making that progress is that collaborative approach. So we have the Concord Coalition on Homelessness working more closely with the police, having a social worker being added, going into these camps and really learning why the causes of this, right? Why are people being homeless, living in the woods, and why are they, why don't they want to live in housing? So housing supply is important here. It's not the only answer. So the U.S., I was doing some research. The U.S. Interagency Council on Homelessness has a 7-principle plan.
Yep.
And the city's doing quite a few of those. I'd say 4 or 5, but housing is another one and shelter is another one. And so we have to get at that. We also have to have enough police officers in the city of Concord to do that outreach. And I think it's well known, 19 down. We have 20 down at one point, so we're making one progress.
Yeah.
But we can't have a safe city if we don't fully fund and resource our emergency services.
That's a related issue. I go to the Works, and even though I'm landlord to 3 or 4 coffee shops, the Works opens at 5:30. I see some of the policemen coming off the shifts, talk to them. They talk about how much more required work they have to do because they don't have enough officers. What does Concord need to do to fill those 20 positions? Are they not paying enough? Is the duty too hazardous? What do you think needs to happen there?
Well, our police officers are getting poached by other towns and cities that are
They're that good.
Cities that are going to be paying more. So sign-on bonuses, we're going to have to do some of that in order to keep our folks around.
All right. Let's turn to tourism disclosure in the hotel business.
Yeah.
We love any tourist who strays into Concord. Do you think it's an important part of our development? We talked about East Burke, so obviously I think it probably gives us a little lead in there. And if so, what should the role of the city be in trying to help on that?
Yeah, so I think in the materials you sent, you mentioned Portsmouth, right? And so we certainly don't have the Piscataqua, right, or the ocean nearby, but we can look at the amenities we do have. Yes, I mentioned East Burke, so we have the trails. I've heard people talk about things like, more music festivals and, waterfront parks and things like that. Transportation is a big deal. We're a hub in the city of Concord, and the spokes go out everywhere. Yeah. So capitalizing, we have these rail trails that are coming in the city of Concord. We should be a destination for people to come and stay and really spend time and money in the city of Concord.
Getting the State House open. There are so many thousands of people who just tour around the country to see State Houses. That's a battle I know that Mayor Boulay and Thomas Bell have been working on, and Tim Sink for years. Maybe now, when you become the Speaker of the House, you can make that happen.
That probably won't happen.
Well, you never know. Last issue is the whole issue of whether Concord's backside is what we're presenting to the tens of thousands of people who go by. Should the city do anything? Is this just best left to private development? I know there was a lot of controversy when Hotel Concord did the lights, but at least there's some lights you drive through. Manchester, you see light and life. What's your thinking there? Should the city do anything or just let it evolve naturally, or what do you think?
So I was part of that decision for the Hotel Concord sign and the lights. What I will say about Manchester, it looks great from 293. But when you get off, Elm Street does not look like our downtown.
Exactly.
Right? And our downtown is much better. So you're right, getting people off the highway. I don't know what deal was struck with the Store Street Plaza, but we have to live with that now. And if we can't convince them to upgrade that sort of streetscape, then we can do more. Hotel Concord. Not a lot of people wanted that.
I think it's terrific.
And now people love it.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people who didn't want Main Street to be rebuilt, and now they love it. Right. So a little bit of creativity, a little bit of calculated risk after some research, working with developers, working with builders, working with businesses. Businesses don't go into something knowing they're going to lose money.
Right. Try not to.
I mean, they don't last long in business if that's the case. So having those partnerships, I think, is going to be the key.
Great. Well, good luck.
Thank you.
Election day, you don't have much on your plate. State representative, city council, run a school, a very large school, and a lot of boards and commissions. Other than that, you must have lots of spare time.
Yeah.
Thanks very much.
About 5 hours a
Yeah,
night.
there you go. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.